history at Springfield College, as well as a professor at Virginia College in Charleston, South Carolina. Now, I'm here to talk about today one of the great ladies of history who are not that well known outside of her immediate sphere, and that is Elizabeth Evelyn Wright, who was the founder of Voorhees College, which is in Denmark, South Carolina. Now, I got the idea of doing the story back about in the 1990s. My niece, Janetta Campbell, came back from Voorhees College in Denmark, South Carolina, where she attended. It's one of the United Negro College Fund schools. And she was bragging to me about this lady who was in her yearbook. And here's her picture right here. This is, let me get you a good view of this, Elizabeth Evelyn Wright. And when I saw this picture, I said, who's that? And she said that this was the founder of the school, that back in the 1800s, she built the school for African Americans, and the Ku Klux Klan burned it down. And I said, oh, that's interesting. So I found out later from one of my cousins, another cousin of mine, this one's named Janetta Howard, that she went there in the 70s. The students were required to learn about Elizabeth Evelyn Wright. And that's great because, see, most people don't know anything about the schools they attend or their history, other than the fact they go there. So I did some research on that, and here's what I found. That Elizabeth Evelyn Wright was born in a place called Talbotton, Georgia in 1873. The daughter of former slaves John Wesley Wright and a Cherokee heritage woman by the name of Virginia Wolfe. So she grew up a frail, sickly child. So there was a lot of consternation about what type of future will this young lady have. And of course in those days there were not a lot of opportunities for African Americans. Remember now, the Reconstruction period is beginning to end at this point. So there are not a lot of places where she could go to learn or opportunities to be someone. And she just happened to come across an advertisement about the Tuskegee Institute in Tuskegee, Alabama. At that time, a former slave by the name of Booker T. Washington, who literally walked from Walden, West Virginia to Hampton, Virginia, in order to get an education. And he went on to become a great educator, first by educating American Indian students at Hampton Institute, and going on to help to start the Tuskegee Institute down in Alabama. Well, she read about this place and decided that she would go there. When she was there, she fell under the spell of the great Mr. Washington. She heard him speak, and he said something to the effect of, "One point is encouraging. Our people want light. They are willing and ready to be guided and led. They will live and die for such a teacher." And he was encouraging the students to go out into the rural areas and teach the sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters of the former slaves. And she was greatly inspired by that. She said that she was determined to, as she put it in her own words, to be the same type of woman as Mr. Washington was of a man. So Mr. Washington's wife, Margaret Murray Washington, basically gave her some jobs to do around the school in order to pay for her tuition. However, she was relatively frail, so she managed to get a scholarship from a judge up in Massachusetts, a white judge by the name of George Kelly, to help her fund her education. When she graduated, she went out to Hampton County, South Carolina, a place called McNeil's in Hampton County, near Varnville. And there was a white woman by the name of Miss Almina Steele, who was also from the North. She was starting a school for African Americans in that area. Unfortunately, a lot of the racist people in that area were not too keen on such a school, so the school was burned down. Contrary to popular belief, the Klan didn't burn it down because the Klan itself was out of existence from 1871 to 1915. But the mentality of that sort of thing still prevailed. So she tried to start another school in the same area, and this time she had the assistance of a black woman named Jessie Coleman. Well, Miss Coleman did not play. The two of them, Elizabeth Wright and Jessie Coleman, were walking down the streets, whereas they were insulted by a group of white passerby, and Miss Coleman took out her umbrella, and the result was that didn't happen again, needless to say. So after this, however, the school was burned on another occasion. So finally, they decided to try another location in order to start the school. They went to nearby Bamberg County over in Denmark, South Carolina. Now, while they were there, they faced further opposition. there was an African American minister in that area who was named by the name of Reverend Samuel Rice. And Reverend Rice basically kept sway over his followers who were largely illiterate. So when Miss Coleman and Miss Wright began to educate the people out of backwardness and superstition and habits such as drinking homemade liquor and the like, he basically feared that they would overthrow an individual such as himself and destroy his hold on the population. So he spread rumors that they were witches and this sort of thing, and Jessie Coleman, let's just say, she took care of that situation also, and leaving no stone unturned. So finally, they needed land. They needed more land and buildings. So they appealed to a white wealthy businessman up in New Jersey by the name of Ralph Voorhees, who gave her land for the school. However, time took its toll on Miss Wright. She was not a well woman, and she wrote a letter to Booker T. Washington in June the 6th, 1898 that went, "It is best not to remain here, I know, during the summer. For last summer I had the fever, and I am told that I will have it each year until I leave here. But I do not get any salary, and my means are none. I will have to trust God for whatever may come. My work is hard, and sometimes the way it seems dark, and I think nothing much will be accomplished. But I am fond of it, and I have experienced that there is no fun in doing easy things. I want you to always remember that I love my alma mater, and I love my principal, and will ever try to reflect credit upon them both." Booker T. Washington also spoke well of Miss Wright, mentioning in his book Character Building in 1902 that Elizabeth Wright was an example for young girls to follow and encourage them to go out into the country districts and build up schools. Unfortunately, Miss Wright's health failed, and in 1906 she passed away. And her husband, Mr. Martin Menifee, said, "If she could speak at this hour, she would not dwell on what she has done or what she has not done, but press on with the work as God would have it. I feel we are doing every honor, and every friend of the school will not lose interest in it, but will ever stand for the maintenance of a work that is well established and has taken the life of such a noble character." Now, this is a great inspiration. This story of Elizabeth Wright, whose Denmark College remains today in Denmark, South Carolina, one of the few schools from that time that were African American that are still in existence. It says a lot about what teachers had to face then. Today, teachers face a lot of obstacles, including violence and mass illiteracy among the students and so forth. But Elizabeth Evelyn Wright, I think, her example of showing us how she persevered in spite of what she went through with the school being burned and the misunderstanding and illiteracy of the people around her, I think that serves an example for the teachers of today to carry on and show what they need to do in order to keep these students inspired and educated today. This is Damon Fordham on the story of Elizabeth Evelyn Wright, and you can read more about it in my book, Voices of Black South Carolina, which is available at bookstores near you, or you can order it off the internet. Thank you.